Asbestos, the workplace risk. It is an unsettling fact that almost 1.3 million people in the United States are exposed to asbestos in the workplace every single day. Health organizations have known about the link between asbestos and mesothelioma for a long time, along with many other serious health issues caused by working in an asbestos-filled environment. However, many people are still unsure as to whether they could be affected by asbestos, and what steps can be taken to protect themselves from the conditions that it causes. Here is where we hope to provide you with a few answers. The workplace risk. Asbestos occurs naturally, and breathing in its fibrous material can be fatal. Asbestos has been used in many different industries for many years because it is flame and heat resistant, and very durable. However, over time the link between asbestos and bad health was made, and because it was so commonly used in work area, thousands of people developed mesothelioma. The harm begins when someone breathes in trace amounts of asbestos each time they're at work. Although asbestos occurs naturally, breathing large amounts of asbestos in over a long period of time can lead to a range of health issues such as asbestosis, breathing issues, coughing, gastrointestinal and colorectal cancer, lung cancer, mesothelioma, shortness of breath. Unfortunately, many people worked in an area that contained a lot of asbestos before health organizations became aware of the associated health risks. These days specific safety measures are used to protect employees against exposure to asbestos, but these safety measures could be a little too late for some older employees. Which jobs have a higher exposure? Exposure to asbestos in the workplace is still common, even though we are aware of how damaging it can be. Those who are still at risk work in the following industries: construction of residential and commercial buildings, demolition of residential and commercial buildings, janitorial work in buildings that contain disintegrating asbestos, manufacture of asbestos-containing products, mining industries, paper mills, renovation of residential and commercial buildings, repairing cooling and heating equipment, roofing, shipbuilding, vehicle repair. Your right to be protected from asbestos. If you are worried about your exposure to asbestos or you work around or with a lot of asbestos, please talk to your union or your manager/supervisor about your concerns. You should also speak about the health and safety practices that are being undertaken to help minimize asbestos exposure and the associated risks. If you are exposed to asbestos as part of your job, it's likely that your employer is aware of their legal requirement to protect you and your fellow workers from asbestos-related health risks. Some employers are obligated to provide their team with protection from asbestos. Such employers offer their team the following protection: employee training, frequent or daily monitoring of employees, particularly those who remove materials that contain asbestos, instructions and warning signs in work areas where work that involves exposure to asbestos is performed, medical examinations for those who are exposed to asbestos, post-exposure precautions such as showers, protective clothing such as coveralls, face shields, foot covers, gloves and goggles, respirators, sufficiently ventilated work areas. Who is legally responsible for your asbestos-related health issues? If your current or former job involves working around or with large amounts of asbestos, you may want to be aware of the following. If you suffer from health issues that have been caused by asbestos in your workplace, you may be able to file a lawsuit against the manufacturers of the asbestos or the manufacturers of any protective or safety equipment that did not work properly. You may also be able to file a lawsuit against the owner of the building that you work or worked in and any subcontractors or contractors that you worked with. Please note that if your employer is found guilty of failing to protect you from exposure to asbestos, you may receive workers' compensation. If you think you may have been exposed to asbestos and you've developed an asbestos-related illness because of it, you should speak to a lawyer as soon as you can. You may receive a health check that can help detect early signs of any asbestos-related health conditions. However, you should be aware that asbestos-related conditions may take many years to develop. This means that if you worked in an environment that was exposed to asbestos more than 10 years ago, you may still be at risk of developing serious health issues. Speak to a lawyer as soon as you can so you can file a lawsuit against your employer if it is found that you have or are likely to develop an asbestos-related condition.